Bien, 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 bien. Momentito, momentito. Y vamos a empezar la grabación. We're going to start our recording. Muy buenos días, muy buenos días. Very, very good morning to everybody. Sí, feliz lunes, happy Monday. Lo que vamos a hacer hoy, what we're going to do today is I want us, well, first of all, I'll open up with just any questions about anything you did with homework. But what the main event, the main thing we want to work on some of those things that are called stem changing verbs. Okay. And we'll review what they are and what they mean and why they do what they do. And why should I know this stuff? And practice. We'll be practicing with big group, practicing in smaller groups with actually stem changing verbs. I want to save some time for that word ya today. Ya is it is a very problematic word. I just for fun, I went to see today how many different YouTubes I could find on ya. And there are many that I would love for you to hear because they're wonderful, but a lot of them are all in Spanish, and it would be really, really tough to follow all of the explanations in Spanish. So I've kind of distilled it down to one that is super helpful and another one that you may want to use, but he actually points out a very good thing. There is an emotional component to this word ya, which, by the way, you may hear as ya or ja. Mm-hmm. And both are fine because the pronunciation you hear for ja may have a little ja, may have a big ja, may have a just completely Y sound, ya. But ya has, it will tell you in this video 10 meanings, but it's probably got about 15 meanings. Mm-hmm. So without scaring people too much, you will hear the word ya a lot, but it's good to anticipate, to know, because the way you hear it kind of determines what the meaning is. And what the meaning is also will depend on the tense, whether you use it as ya or ya no, and all of that. But anyway, our main focus today is going to be stem changing verbs and what that means to change a stem. Okay. Vamos a empezar. Oh, okay. First of all, primero, any questions you had on the little videos you had about the refrigerator or cooking or what people like to cook, what people like to eat? Any questions you have from anything you did this week that is kind of like left hanging over like the hangnail, and and you got to ask that question before we start the real practice today? Nada? Nothing. Wow, you're all being super polite. Okay.
Don't know enough to ask.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that might be more it.
The refrigerator one was good for learning a lot of vegetables that we haven't come in contact with.
Yeah. Okay. Diana, gracias, Diana. Thank you for that, because one thing that's kind of good to know, if you travel, if and when one feels safe to get out there and do that, at some point we will. When you travel to different countries, you will encounter different vegetables. And boy, that eggplant thing is, and you're laughing because, not so common here, is it? But, with in French cooking and Spanish cooking in Latin America, it is like a popular vegetable. There are different foods. If you wandered into a marketplace, un mercado, in Colombia, in Mexico, in España, if you went in any other country, you would see vegetables where you would literally be saying, what is that? Because you would see foods that you don't see here. And this is a common thing and kind of a culture shock that a lot of people go through. Okay, but I wanted to have you to have a little feel for what people would typically have in their fridge. And okay, vale. And feel free to interrupt when you have a question in the middle. I do want to get on with this topic of stem changing verbs, and why you want to know this stuff.
And he's waving.
Yeah.
There's a question.
Oh, sí, dime. Yeah, tell me. Question? Sí. Cindy.
Una pregunta, por favor.
Sí, sí.
This is a repeat, and I think it was Diane who kept asking this, and I'm finding I'm having the same problem, is when you're interpreting a sentence or you're writing it in Spanish, using the L in front of a day of the week.
Oh, the word el.
Yeah, because sometimes it just says it's happening Wednesday. And I keep wanting to put an L in there, but when I go check it, it's not an L.
Okay. So when you're doing Duolingo or something like that, yeah. Okay. Hoy, por ejemplo, hoy es lunes. Hoy es lunes. Today is Monday. I don't need the word el in front of it. Hoy es lunes, mañana es martes. ¿Sí? El fin de semana, the weekend, el fin de semana empieza con viernes. The weekend begins with Friday, or el fin de semana empieza con sábado. I guess what you consider a weekday might be Friday or Saturday. You don't need el. When we want to say on Monday, on Sunday, on Saturday, we need the word el. So that's probably the best rule of thumb. So it changes a little. Por ejemplo, si digo, lavo la ropa el lunes, or I could say it as lavo la ropa los lunes. Lavo la ropa el lunes. I'm washing clothes on Monday. If I change it from el lunes to los lunes would mean it's a routine. I do it every single Monday. Lavo la ropa los lunes. I wash clothes on Mondays. That is my routine. I do it every single Monday, as opposed to this Monday, on Monday. Is that a little better? Es un poquito mejor.
For some reason, I grasped onto this idea that you had to have el lunes every time, and I don't know where. So I just need it.
If you want to say on Monday, you need el lunes. If you just say today is Monday, hoy es lunes, you don't need an el. Yeah, that can be a little bit confusing. Okay, bien.
That's very helpful.
Okay.
That clears that all up.
Okay, fantástico. Excelente. Okay. A ver, bueno, entonces vamos a empezar con esto de stem changers. Wow. Okay. Learning to use verbs in Spanish is a super important thing, of course, because we want to be able to talk with people about what kind of actions we're doing, what kind of activities we are doing. And, therefore we have to know about, we have to tell what people are doing. We have to know verbs. And of course, it would be really nice if all verbs in Spanish were regular verbs. They follow that wonderful little pattern, but not all verbs are regular. And a very big category of verbs are what we call stem changers. Okay, or stem changing verbs. And so the important thing to know, just in terms of grammar ease, like legal ease, is that when we talk about what is a stem, okay, so let's start with what is a stem. If we have a verb, referir, to refer, right? this part at the end,
Yeah.
the AR or the ER or the IR, you know, if I had tener, it would be here, yeah, the tener, right? This part here is not the stem, not the stem. Okay, so the stem is all of this. So in other words, the stem is the main part of the verb. Okay, yeah, that's when we talk about what is a stem changing verb, what it means is that's the big part. Okay, and in Spanish, they don't call it a stem, they call it raíz, a root. Cambios de raíz, root changes, because this is the root, this is the main part of the verb. But in English, they refer this to a stem changing verb. So what it means is that some vowel here in the main part is going to go through, it's going to change. It's going to usually split off into not a single, not always. Sometimes it's only one letter, but often it splits off into two letters. Okay. So how do I know? Well, wait, all vowel changes. How do I know? Well, it's whatever syllable is right next to the AR or the ER or the IR. That's it. Okay. It's whatever it's next door to the AR, next door to the ER, next door to the IR. It's this vowel. So a lot of times the stem winds up being, well, it can only be that vowel that gets the change, right? But sometimes you might have a very long verb. So you always know it's whatever is next door to that tail end, that caboose on the train that is the verb. Okay. Vale. So that's the first thing to know. Stem changing verbs means there is a vowel and it has a change in it. Vamos a ver. Let's take a look back at this. Okay. And not all verbs are stem changers. Some are, some aren't. I could tell you go out and memorize it, but that's kind of a useless thing for me to tell you because there are so many of them. There's no way for me to make a list. Here they are. Are you going to go memorize 100, 200? No, of course you're not. Okay, so we're going to take things you're possibly more likely to use, but whenever you hear people talking, when you hear them using a verb, you'll hear this stem change. And, that's how you get to know from hearing it more and more and more. But in general, there are three different categories of possible stem changes. And that may be the E, la E, the E, we call that letter E, might split off into an IE. Okay. Or it might be an O that changes to a UE, or it might be an E, again, the same letter E, that changes just to an E, the sound I, E. Okay. How do you know if it's a stem changer that is an IE versus a stem changer that is just this E sound? Well, sadly, you just have to know. You can't look at it and say, oh, because it's spelled like this, it'll be, no, you just have to know. However, here's the saving grace. This third category of E, that changes to E, the sound, the letter I, that's the smallest category, the fewest number of verbs, very, very small number of verbs do that kind of a change. Okay. This category of IE is whopping big. And this category of OTUE is pretty big, probably not as whopping big as this one. Okay. Now, here's another question, and this came up, and it's really good that somebody posed this question to me midweek. An IE stem change. This happens to be an IE. Refiero. This is an IE stem change. It might happen in IR verb. It might happen in an ER verb. It might happen in an AR verb. So whether it's an AR or an ER or an IR, it doesn't matter, right? Okay. It may, this IE stem change can happen in anything. Okay, in anything. That O to UE could happen in anything. I will say, however, the E to I stem change, are they always IR verbs? I think they are. Well, wait. Well, we'll see. Vamos a ver. Yeah. All right. So the stem change happens to the vowel that is immediately before, next door to the AR or the ER or the IR. Okay. And here's the other thing you need to know. Nosotros reverts back to the original vowel and does not do a stem change. Nosotros and vosotros, but you guys are not using vosotros because in Latin America they don't use that, but in Spain they do. Nosotros and vosotros, those two forms, but practically speaking for you guys, the nosotros form does not get the stem change. All right, so that goes back to whatever the original vowel is in the infinitive. So the reason we call these, we sometimes call these boot verbs or shoe verbs, because when you look at the pattern that gets the stem change, it forms a boot or a shoe. So sometimes people will refer to these as boot verbs or shoe verbs. And that's why, because the change you see happens in these forms and they form a shoe or a boot. Okay. So we can have, por ejemplo, el verbo encender, which this is the verb that incendiary comes from in English. Encender means to light something or turn something on that's electrical. Okay. Becomes enciendo, enciendes, enciende, encienden. But encendemos o nosotros doesn't get the stem change. So it goes back to the original letter E. La letra E, okay, from the infinitive. And does not, this one does not get a stem change. It's outside of the boot, outside of the shoe. Okay, so that's why we call them shoe or boot verbs. Poder, same thing. Can. Okay, literally it means to be able to, but in English, we often express it with the idea of I can. I can go, I can come at this time, I can work with you tomorrow, I can do something, I am able to do something, right? And the nosotros verb is outside the boot, so it does not get that change. Podemos, okay? But the other forms do. Puedo, puedes, puede, pueden, all right? And notice this is in present tense when we're talking about what's happening now or near future, right? This is, these are the changes that happen. So an important thing to know, let me go back to this. You know what? When you see this is what they call a diphthong. It's two vowels being used right next to each other. You pronounce each vowel. So that IE sounds like IE.
Not that door, though. Maybe okay.
Yeah, it's a diphthong. You pronounce both vowels. They're pronounced quickly together, one running right into the other. Ue, right? Ue. And of course, this one is the one that's all by its lonesome self. E. So that only gets the E sound. Okay. So these verbs, por ejemplo, these four verbs for encender will sound like enciendo. Enciendo, I'm turning something on, right? Enciendes, enciende, encienden. Okay, but encendemos, no stem change. Poder, you need to sound, hear that ue sound in there. Puedo, puedes, puede, pueden. Okay, but then when we look outside the shoe, it's podemos, podemos. Okay, bien?
Yeah.
Vale. Okay, here is the very, very teeny, tiny example. There aren't that many verbs that have an E to I stem change. Of the ones that you will need the most, will be ones like pedir, to ask for something, to order something, servir, to serve something, because they use those two verbs in restaurant settings, and repetir. Repetir is an E to I stem change. It is a small category of verbs. Okay, you will use fewer of those than the other two, but that E to I stem change means, and oh yeah, look, they're all IR verbs. Yeah, you won't hear E to I stem changes in an AR verb. You won't. So for repetir, we get repito, right? Repites, repite, repiten. But the nosotros doesn't get that form. It goes back to the original the original E letter. Repetimos. Bien? Okay. So we will practice less of this category today because there aren't as many verbs I can practice with. Okay. So what we're going to focus on today is these two categories of the IE and the UE, because there are a lot of those and you are likely to hear way more of those. Okay. We will leave this for another day for actual practice. Okay. All right. So it's good to recognize which verbs happen to be stem changers. And this, you're just going to have, you could tell yourself, well, if you're a good memorizer, well, good for you, you Mensa person, but a lot of people have a hard time memorizing, and I don't, how useful is it? I don't know, because, these are huge categories. So, you'll just, as you hear more of them, get used to knowing which ones are there. But there's no like special clue of how a word is spelled that tells you this is a stem changer. I mean, obviously how it's spelled when you hear them using the conjugations, yes, then it will be obvious. But, there's no special clue in the way the infinitive looks to say, watch out for me, I'm a stem changer. So, okay, vamos a ver. We're going to take a look and we're going to split these into categories. And I want you to get comfortable. The most important thing, first of all, is just a vocabulary issue. Get comfortable with what do these, these are stem changers and here's what they mean. And here are some common ones you may hear people using quite a lot. And these, we're going to look at five at a time. Wow, can I make this slightly bigger? Espero que sí. I think I can make, sí, un poquito más grande. I can make this a little bit bigger. So we've got querer. Querer. The infinitive doesn't have the stem change yet, but I underlined the vowel you can see that gets the stem change. Querer, which means to want and also means to love. Okay? Querer. Yeah, so it becomes quiero. So let's get familiar with just the yo form for now. Quiero.
Quiero. Okay. And the other forms besides quiero will get whatever change you do for all ER verbs. It's an ER verb. So essentially it winds up having two little changes. That little vowel thing in the middle and the endings of the O for yo, the S for tú,
right? Quieres. Okay. The e ending for talking about one human being, quiere, right? The en ending to talk about more than one person, quieren, right? Quieren. And for nosotros, it's going to go back to the original QUE, queremos. Now, I want you to listen to what it would sound like with nosotros if I put a stem change in, and you will see it sounds clumsy. Because what I'm going to say, the word I'm going to say next is wrong. Queremos. Queremos. If I put a stem change in, wow, do you hear how long that sounds? It sounds cumbersome because there are too many vowels, people. Queremos is not a thing. It's got to go back to the original e. So it's queremos. 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 Yeah. Because we've got a longer ending for the nosotros ending, it would become just too clumsy if I start sticking in even more vowels in the middle. Okay. So, but this is probably the most common verb. And just keep in mind when you put in the, and somebody's got a gong sounding. So you may need to silence yourself. Gracias. So keep in mind, most of the forms of querer, to want, will sound like the letter, will sound like the word key, because you have to have that key sound in there. Quiero. Quieres. Right? Quiero. Quieres. Quiere. Quieren. But nosotros goes back to the original sound of queremos. Okay. And you're gonna practice this really soon. Okay. Let's look at another E to IE stem change. This one. There are two verbs that are synonyms. They mean the exact same thing. I will tell you, however, the dirty little secret that most people don't tell you. This one of the two is actually, I think, quite a bit more common. You hear this more. But just like we say start or begin, and they're synonymous, start and begin. I'm beginning to cook. I'm starting to cook. I'm beginning to study. I'm starting to study. They mean the same thing. They have two verbs that mean the same thing. Okay. Empezar and comenzar. So, but they both mean to begin, to start. So we're going to practice with empezar. Empezar, and you can see the vowel right next door to the AR ending is what gets the change, right? Not the first EM, but the second E letter, right? Not M, but empe, pe. The pe syllable gets the change. So it's the yo form, empiezo. Empiezo, right? I'm starting, empiezo, right? If you say empiezo, people will kind of have to do a double take and think, because it's not quite, it doesn't sound quite right. Empiezo, 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 I'm starting. The tu form is empiezas, right? The one person form is empieza. This form empieza is super important because quite often, just as in English, we say it is starting. Like the show is starting. It is starting, like it's starting to rain. It is starting, like the concert is starting. We use this form empieza to talk about a thing that is starting. El concierto empieza. The concert is starting. El programa empieza. The program is starting, right? Empieza a nevar. It's starting to snow. When you want to say it is starting, nobody in Spanish says the word it. For a subject, this thing is starting. It is starting. That kind of it, that kind of word it, has no equivalent in Spanish. There are times when we actually do say the word it in Spanish. It's a different word, but Yeah. But you want to say it is starting. It's just empieza with no it in there. You follow what I'm saying? Entienden? See? Okay. So, empiezan, they are beginning, but the nosotros form does not get the stem change. Empezamos. 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 Okay. We're going to take a look at cerrar, to close. Cerrar, to close. Okay. Cerrar, yay, only 2 syllables. So cerrar becomes cierro. Cierro. Right? Yeah, you can't say it as cerro. Nobody will know what you're talking about. Cierro. Cierro. Okay. The tú form, cierras. Right? To talk about one person, or like say a store is closing, a building is closing. Yeah, we do that. Cierra. Cierra. Right? To say they are closing, cierran. But the nosotros will go back to the original C-E-R-R, cerramos, cerramos, okay? Cerramos, okay? Muy importante, entender, to understand. Just like empezar and comenzar both mean to begin, to start. There are actually 2 verbs for understand. Comprender, comprender, like comprehend, but comprender is not a stem changer. So we're not putting it in the category, even though it has an equivalent. This verb entender is the one you hear most people use, like 90% of the people. If they want to say, hey, did you understand what I said? Or do you get it? Do you get it? Meaning, do you understand it? They will use this verb. Okay, they will not use comprender. They will use this verb. And it's a stem changer. So, entender, entender, the e next to the er at the end is what gets the change. Not the n part at the beginning, but the ten part in the middle. So it becomes entiendo. Entiendo. I understand. Entiendo. I don't understand is just a no in front of it. No entiendo. Right? Entiendo. Yo. The tú form becomes entiendes. Entiendes. So somebody will ask you, entiendes? Do you get it? Entiendes. Right? To talk about one human being, understanding it, entiende. Entiende. In? Talk about more than one human being, understanding it, entienden. Entienden. Okay. So if I talk to you, all you guys together, and I'm seeing you on the screen, I will say, entienden. Do you guys get it? Entienden? I won't even say to you, ustedes, entienden. Okay.
What would the response of understood?
Yeah, sí, eso, sí, entienden. There is another way to say understood, meaning the thing is understood, and that's entendido, entendido. It's just a different form of entender. Entendido, understood. But entienden, do you guys understand? That makes it very active. That makes it very active. Do you guys right now get it? Entienden. Okay. But the nosotros form will go back to the 10, 10, 10, right? Entendemos. Entendemos. Bien? Okay. And the last thing we're going to look at in this group is one UE, because so now you can see there are going to be way more of these IE changes even than you have in the UE. But we're going to practice with this UE one from dormir. Dormir, to sleep. Okay. Dormir. And so it becomes a UE. The yo form, duermo. 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 Ue, duermo.
Duermo.
Duermo, duermo. I sleep or I am sleeping. Okay. The tú form becomes duermes. Duermes. Right? The form for one human being becomes duerme. Duerme. Okay. The form for more than one person, they are sleeping or they do sleep. Duermen. Duermen. Yeah. But notice when we go back to nosotros, that's outside of the boot. So it goes back to the D-O-R. Dormimos. 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 Bien? Okay. So here's what I'm going to have you guys do. You're going to go into smaller groups to do this. Bien, bien. And we're going to preview what I want you to do. A ver, momentito. And I'm trying to move this about. Ooh, well, okay. I'm going to have to just kind of go by the seat of my pants here. You will actually see this once you get into the breakout rooms. You will see this page. So don't like scribble wildly because you won't need to. Okay. We're going to give you one example of each of these 5 verbs, one example, and you're going to see where the stem change is, or you won't see an underlining, meaning there isn't a stem change. And so I want you with your partners to say that one thing. And I want you to add, often I'll ask you to add something to it, like quiero, and then name a thing, like quiero café. I want coffee, right? Right? You can keep it as simple as that, or you can make it more complicated. Quiero ayudar. I want to help, right? You can want to do an action. And then the second thing after the slash, I want you to change querer to talk about one person, somebody that's not yo. Okay? And add some more information after that verb. So in other words, you're going to be taking that verb quiero and changing the form to talk about somebody else, but not that somebody else can't be yo. Okay? Entienden? Understand? So each time you make a change, it'll be, I'll tell you what kind of form. Do I want to talk about one person? Do I want to talk about more than one person? Do I want to talk to you? Do I want to talk about we, whatever change I want you to make. Okay? Bien? Entienden? Understand? Sí? Sí? Bien? Okay. All right. It's going to take me a little bit of time to get my group set up here. So if there's something that, perdón. I did something wrong here. Okay. If there is something that you do not understand about that, pipe up, go ahead and ask. If there's something about those instructions that does not make sense to you, go ahead and ask that question.
I have a question.
Sí, dime.
What is it when you're using it instead of a person? What is the conjugation? Like it is open, it is closed. Not.
Okay. So let's think about this because it will make sense. If you're talking about it, perdón. If you're talking about it, you're talking about one thing, right?
Yes.
See? Okay. So because you're talking about one thing, perdón. Because you're talking about one thing, it's going to be that what they call third person.
Singular.
Yeah, singular, right? It can't be yo.
Sí.
Right? It can't be tú.
Sí.
And it can't be more than one. So whenever you're talking about it is going to be a third person singular. Okay, bien. Has to be that way. Okay, a ver. Bear with me here. I'm trying to make sure I get people into similar groups so that, and we've got a few people out. Okay, bien, momentito.
I gotta say, I usually hear no comprendo, not no entiendo.
Oh, you usually hear that? Really?
No comprendo.
Well, you know, people can definitely say, I mean, you know, absolutely, they can say, no comprendo, but entender is just a super, super common verb. And, you know, I feel it is way more common. I mean, that's my opinion. And I'm sticking with it. It's just, yeah, it's what you tend to hear an awful lot. Momentito. Okay, a ver. I'm sorry, it's taking me a little bit longer to get my act together here. Today. 4, 5. A ver. Okay. I'm trying to get my sign. Perdón. And the number of people I've got in always kind of depends on who shows up for a particular day. So, and then I had a few people who kind of, okay, a ver. Okay. Okay, bien. Wow. All right. Sorry about that. So there we go. Got everybody figured out. Hit the join button and I will be sending in your list of questions. Except for Linda, you are staying out. And Loretta, can you see your assigned room or not? Yeah, Loretta, you should have a join button. Hopefully you find that join button. If you do not find the join button, then, momentito.
She can hang out with us.
And Loretta, you're on mute, so I can't hear you. Hopefully you can find the join button. I'm just going to make sure that I'm pretty sure I've got you assigned to a room.
Okay. Probably don't understand too much
Okay.
of this anymore.
I'm going to try to, well, I got to send in my, there we go. Okay. A ver. Hopefully we got them in here. Okay, Linda. And Loretta, maybe you want to take yourself off of mute if you can you guys see the share screen here with me as well or not?
Sí.
Sí, bien. Okay. So Loretta, if you can't find your join button, just take yourself off of mute and you can practice with us here. So if I've got quiero, well, you know, fill something in. Fill something in. Quiero, what might you add after that? Linda, got an idea?
Quiero. Quiero.
Quiero, por ejemplo, quiero crema en mi café.
See, my mind went blank. I'm sorry. I was like,
It's
I
okay.
don't know
It's
what
not bien.
quiero
I'm kind of
means.
putting you on I'm putting you on the spot just a tiny bit, not a lot. Yeah. Quiero café, quiero agua, right?
Quiero, sí, quiero un cerveza.
Quiero una cerveza. I want a beer. Claro,
Yeah,
sí.
very nice.
Okay. Bien, bien. A ver. Loretta, I'm going to try to get you reassigned here. Loretta, you might see the join button now. And if you don't, Loretta, just stay here. There we go. There she goes. Okay. Bear with me. I need to join room 5. Okay. Hola. Sí.
Hola.
Sí. Tomás.
I was solo, so I thought I would
Ay,
need your help.
lo siento. Okay. Momentito. Wow. ¿Qué pasó? What happened? Let me, and you were not showing up as solo. That is interesting. Well, let me to reassign you. I don't know. No sé. Or maybe, you know what probably happened, Tomas? I assigned somebody to your room, but what happened was probably somebody popped out because, they had to leave for some reason. Let me try
Well, I think we're so far along. Why don't we just hold for can you reassign me out? Because we only had the 5 for this.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Bear with me. Let me leave this room and see if I can go out
Sure.
and fix that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I've got to try to reassign Tomás. Perdón. Wow. Yeah. I got to move him into room 4. Okay, I think that worked. Yay! Wow, technical glitches. Okay. So when I assign people and if something happens and they blip out of the screen, suddenly the person who had a partner has no partner. Okay. Okay. Let's say we change this quiero.
Okay.
Okay. Let's say we change it. We want to talk about one person. How will that verb change?
So it would be Q-U-I-E-R-E. See?
Sí, exacto. ¿Y cómo se pronuncia? How do we pronounce that?
So I wrote a sentence. A mi perro quiere nadar.
Quiere nadar. He wants to swim.
Sí.
Mi perro quiere nadar. My dog wants to swim. Perfecto. Okay. Let's look at duermo. Duermo. Let's put in a number of hours. Duermo.
4.
4 horas. Duermo 4 horas. Okay. Let's change dormir to talk about 2 people. If I'm talking about 2 people and I'm not in the group, I can no longer say duermo. It becomes
D-U-E-R-E-S.
Well, it won't be an S for more than one person. It'll be a n.
Oh, N.
sound.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so good. So let's change it. It becomes duermen. Duermen.
Okay, duermen.
Duermen 4 horas. Duermen 2 horas. Duermen 8 horas. Duermen toda la noche, all night, right? Depende. You can change that time period, of course, okay? Empiezo a. I'm starting to. Empiezo a practicar. Here's an example. I'm starting to practice. Empiezo a practicar. Okay.
Sí.
What happens if I change empiezo, I'm starting to do it, to say it's starting to rain?
So the it is ignored. The it is just like he or she.
It is just like a he or a she.
So it would be, I'm doing this off the top of my head. So
That's fine.
so it'd be EMPIEZ A.
Right. The naked vowel hangs off the end when it's a
right.
onesie. Yeah. Empieza.
Empieza. Starting.
And we need the
The
to
dog.
rain word. And okay, and that is llover. Llover.
Llover.
Llover. Empieza a llover.
Okay.
Empieza a llover. It's
Empieza.
starting. Yeah. Empieza a llover. Wow, it's starting to rain. Okay. Let's look at cerramos la ventana. We're closing the window. Let's change cerrar to make it a yo. I'm doing it.
Okay. Cerro. Sí.
Sí.
Cerro. I can't remember window.
La
Silla?
ventana.
That's chair.
Yeah. La ventana.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Ventana. See,
Yeah.
Once you say it, I'm like, oh, that's window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
La ventana. La ventana. Okay. Let's look at the last one. Entendemos. Entendemos. Entendemos inglés. We understand English.
Sí.
See? Okay. Let's change entender to change it for yo.
Yo entiendo piquino español.
Un poco.
Un poco español.
Un poco español. Sí, pequeño means small in size,
Well,
right?
And
Un poco
poco
español. Bien, bien, bien. Okay, vale. Magnifico, magnifico. I am going to close this down, bring everybody back, and we're going to go into
go, girl.
phase 2. Because you have to do this a bunch of times to get used to it. That's the way. Yeah. That's the way it is. You have to do it a bunch of times to get used to it. That's just the way it is. Así es. So it is. So it is.
Gracias.
De nada, de nada. Okay. Todo bien, todo bien, todo bien. And we got a few coming back. And we'll see what kind of little blips we had, little speed bumps in the road. You kind of find out from the speed bumps what was hard, why was that hard, how do I fix it? And then we go back in and practice again. See? Bien? Así es. So it is. That is a normal way to learn. Okay. A ver. And we've got a whole bunch of these, so it does take time. Aquí vienen, wow, aquí vienen todos. Here comes everybody. Okay. If you had a few speed bumps that didn't go so well, congratulations, felicitaciones. You are a normal person. And that means, there should have been some where you went, oh, I know how to do these. And then there should have been some where I was like, I don't know if I did this right. So let's take a look. What little, and I'm going to bring back my share screen so you can see this again. What little speed bumps did you have with these? Which ones went well, which ones did not. And from those little mistakes, we'll go into phase 2, because really the only way to get used to this is to do it a bunch of times.
Okay.
Well, we had a technical speed bump in that shortly into the session, it looked like you added another person to our group.
Oh.
And at that moment, we lost the questions.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I tried using the chat to kind of let you know.
Oh, okay.
but-
I'm sorry. Yeah, we had a couple. Okay, so that you know, and I'm not totally a crazy person. on occasion, I finally get everything figured out. And when one person leaves that group, somebody is left alone. I had to go back and try to fix it. Perdón, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this.
Yeah, okay.
Let's take a look at this. Let's look at what the changes would be, and we'll come back.
Okay.
Perdón, I am so sorry. Lo
That's okay.
siento mucho. Okay, a ver, let's take a look at what these changes should have been. Change it from quiero,
Mhm.
like
Quiere.
quiero agua,
Yeah.
right? You can put anything in there. Quiero agua. Changing it to talk about one person. Quiero changes to quiere.
Quiere.
Quiere. Remember, if you're talking about one person, you've always got a naked vowel hanging off the end. Quiere. And the vowel by itself is the e sound at the end. Quiere. Quiere. Okay. Let's look at duermo. Duermo 7 horas. Duermo 7 horas. I sleep 7 hours, right?
Muchas horas.
Muchas horas. If we change it to talk about more than one person and yo is no longer in the group, it becomes
Duermen.
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 Duermen. Duermen
Okay.
7 horas. Duermen 8 horas. Okay. Empiezo, and that needs a little word it just does. Okay. So just accept that on faith. Empiezo a practicar. Empiezo a hablar español. Empiezo a tomar un café. I'm starting to have a coffee. Okay. But if it's not, I'm beginning. If I say it is starting to rain, it is not yo. So it is starting to rain. We forget about the word it altogether because we don't need it. And it's starting to rain becomes what?
Empieza.
Empieza. And we need that little word Empieza a llover, empieza a llover. I'm going to give you one dirty little secret here with this empieza word. It technically should be empieza a llover. Okay, bien. You technically need to have this little word, but think about it. When somebody is speaking at a normal rate, this little slides right into that little word. So you will never hear a pause.
Empieza a llover.
Empieza a llover is the way it will sound. Empieza a llover. Okay? Because nobody's going to say empieza a. Nobody's going to say it that way. That at the end of empieza will slide right into the word, and you will not hear a break at all. Empieza a llover, right? So it will sound essentially like that isn't there, right? But it is, all right? And the only hint you may have in listening carefully is that the gets dragged out a tiny bit. But really, the from empieza that empieza ends with drags right into that word okay? So, if you forget that it's got an probably nobody's going to notice. Probably nobody's going to notice because it slides into the next word, okay? Para que sepan, just so you know. Para que sepan, so you know. That's yeah. See,
I was talking about the ing version, the empezando. Is it the same? Is it interchangeable?
Oh, empezando, meaning does empezando, the ing form, get an IE stem change?
No, but can you replace it with empieza?
You could say, está empezando a llover. It is starting, you could, está empezando a llover. That makes it super active right now, current time, as we're talking. That's what it does.
And so what is the difference when you're saying this one, it is starting to rain?
Not a lot, not a lot.
Okay.
The difference is that if you phrase it as, está empezando a llover, you are talking about, baby, it is at this exact moment while we're speaking.
Okay. Okay.
It's making it super immediate. Okay. As one might say, in talking of computers, real time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, can I ask also a question here?
Sí, claro.
So if it's like that, because last time we also talked about this, so you can also say if it's starting raining, you can also say está lloviendo.
What's that second? Está.
It's raining, like, it's raining now. You say está lloviendo.
Está lloviendo, está lloviendo. Sí, yeah.
Okay.
Sí, está lloviendo. Yeah. Está lloviendo. Sí, claro. Yeah. But that won't mean it is starting to rain. It will mean it is raining.
Okay.
You take out the start. Yeah. Está lloviendo just takes out the starting idea. It takes it out.
Okay.
Está lloviendo.
Okay, so
it's
you
raining.
gotta say está empezando a llover.
I would keep it much simpler. Empieza a llover. Empieza a llover is much, much more direct. A much more direct way of saying it. Sí. Está lloviendo. It is raining. But if you want to emphasize, here's the difference. If you're putting the emphasis on the starting idea, like the first few drops, yeah, you know that moment.
Yeah.
Then empieza a llover. Empieza a llover. Okay. Easiest way to say it. Bien.
Gracias.
De nada. Okay.
Una pregunta.
Sí, dime.
After the then is always an infinitive.
Yes. Yes. Empezar takes the word a. It just, certain verbs, and you right now won't know what they all are. Some verbs use the word a when they tag on a second infinitive, like ir. Voy a enviar. I'm going to send. Voy a escribir. I'm going to write. Voy a. Ir needs that little word a when I tag on a second infinitive. Empezar similarly needs that little word a. And there's no, you just need to know those two verbs need a little word a. If you forget to say it, somebody will still probably understand you. It will just sound a little odd to them, a little off, but they'll understand. Okay? Bien? Let's take a look at cerrar. Cerramos la ventana. Cerramos la ventana is, yeah, cerramos. We are closing, right? But if I change it to yo, I do the action. Now a stem change has to come in. So cerramos changes to yo. Cierro. Perfecto. Okay. Entendemos. Let's add a thing. Entendemos la idea. Entendemos la idea. We understand the idea. Entendemos la idea. Entendemos la palabra. We understand the word. Entendemos la palabra. Bien? Okay. Entendemos does not need a stem change, but if I want to make it, I understand, it becomes Entiendo. And I have to hear that ie in the middle, right? Entiendo. Okay. A ver, bien. So these IE stem changes are exactly, guys, like what you learned with this very basic verb, tener. Oh, remember this verb from long ago, tener. Although, see, tener is an oddball because the yo will not get the stem change. The yo becomes tengo. Yeah. Tengo. And the nosotros is tenemos. But remember, those other ones had a stem change. Tienes. Tiene. Tienen. Okay. So, yeah, tener is an oddball. It gets a star because the yo doesn't get the stem change. And it should. A good boot verb should get a stem change for yo, and this one doesn't. So this is oddball all over the place, right? Bien. Okay. A ver. Bueno, let's take a look at the next batch. So this next one will go a little bit more smoothly, I am sure.
Bien. You can see our different pictures here, right? See?
Sí.
Pueden ver? Okay. So we've got preferir, to prefer. And now I will just say all the different forms so you hear how they sound. Prefiero, prefiero, and I'm going to exaggerate with my mouth. Prefieres, right? One person, una persona, prefiere, prefiere. Bien. Dos personas, two people, prefieren, prefieren. All right. But nosotros goes back to prefer, preferimos. Preferimos. Okay. Bien. It is an IE stem change. Okay. Here's another one. And it is again, it starts with a P, but it's a different verb. Perder, to lose, perder, right? And perderse will mean to get lost, but perder, to lose. So it becomes yo pierdo, pierdo, tú pierdes, okay? Una persona, one person pierde, okay? Dos personas pierden. But nosotros will go back to the PER, perdemos, perdemos. Bien, okay. We're going to look at two UE verbs at the bottom, okay? These are the four. This is the group of four you'll be practicing with when you go out into breakout rooms next. We've got poder, which we usually express in everyday conversation as can. Not that many people say, I am able to run a mile in 7 minutes. They'll say, I can run a mile in 7 minutes. It doesn't mean it's incorrect to say I can run versus I am able to run. But what are you most likely to say if you're just yik, yak, yak, yakking with people? It's can. I mean, let's face it. That's what we usually use. Can. Okay. But we don't have an infinitive to can. Yeah, that's not an infinitive, is it? To can. But okay, in Spanish it is poder, poder. And that O splits off into a UE, right? And the O goes away completely. It becomes a UE. So, yo puedo, puedo. Tú puedes. And that F sound has to be in them. Puedes. Bien, ¿sí? Okay. Una persona, one person, puede. Puede. Okay. So that can mean he can, she can, it can. Ooh, puede ser. It could be. Yeah, it can be. Okay. Dos personas pueden. Pueden. Okay. The nosotros form goes back to the O in POD. Pod. Podemos. Podemos. Bien. Okay. And then we're going to look at a verb that means to return to a place. Okay. To come back to a place. And that is volver. Volver. And this O goes off into a UE. So it becomes yo vuelvo. Vuelvo.
Vuelvo.
Okay. Tú vuelves. Okay. Una persona, one person. Vuelve. Vuelve. We just have the vowel at the end, right? Dos personas, two people or more. Vuelven. Vuelven. With an N at the end. Vuelven. Okay. But for nosotros, we go back to the O in volver. Volvemos. Volvemos. Okay. Bien.
Bien.
We're going to say that word, Marilyn. Too many B's.
Oh,
and they're trying to sound like a B, and there's a V and the UE. Let's get rid of that word.
Let's get rid of that word. I wish I could get rid of that word. Vuelven. Vuelven. The B and the L. Vuelven, sí, yeah. But remember, the V is going to sound like a B. Yeah, really soft. I know. Sí, así. I wish I could make it different, but I can't. No puedo. I can't. No puedo hacerlo. Okay. Bien. Let's take a look at what words you will be using. You'll be starting with prefiero.
Prefiero.
And you can say, I prefer a thing or I prefer to do something. Okay, I'll give you an example. Muy flexible. This is a very flexible expression. Prefiero vino. No prefiero cerveza. I prefer wine. I don't prefer beer. Prefiero vino. That's a thing. But I might say, I prefer to do something. And then I won't need a little word a. I just stick in an unconjugated verb. Por ejemplo, for example, prefiero comer hamburguesa. Prefiero comer ahora. I prefer to eat now. Prefiero comer. Okay, so I can name a thing or an activity. Either way, but prefiero, I prefer. You're going to go and change it to a tú form. Okay, the next one we're going to use perder, to lose. Mi esposo siempre pierde las llaves. My husband always loses the keys. Mi esposo siempre pierde el dinero. My husband always loses money. It falls out of his pocket, lo que sea. You're going to change perder to talk about yo. And if you want to say I don't lose, make it a no in front of the verb, right? If you make it because maybe you don't lose anything. Maybe you're just super organized. So you can make it negative. You can make any of these negative, right? Podemos pasar means can we come in? Podemos pasar. Change poder, use this same exact phrase, podemos pasar, and change it to talk about yo and what I can do, okay? And the fourth one you're going to use is, I'm sorry, lo siento, Nora. I'm sorry, Nora. Ellos vuelven en... they return in and, name an amount of time. Ellos vuelven en 15 minutos. They're coming back in 15, in 15 minutes, right? But you're going to change volver to talk about one person, one human being. So that verb vuelven will have to change to one thing. Okay, bien? Bien? Okay. Now... See, bien? Okay, you'll get that into your rooms with you. And if you don't get that in, give it about a good 30 seconds. I'm going to peruse my groups to make sure that one is empty. Okay, good. You will see this soon after you hit your join buttons.
Okay. Okay. Bien, 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 bien. Okay. What mejor? Went better that time? See?
Everybody
All
can
right,
see
we'll see you
everything.
back in
Okay.
the room.
Yes,
Magnifico.
yes.
There's always some way. It's not a complete class without some little technical blip, is it? It's okay. A ver. Aquí vienen más. And we got some more coming here. Bueno, a ver. Okay. Momentito. Soon we will get everybody in here.
Can you just go through, would you mind going just through the pronunciation again of that last verb to return or come back?
Sí, sí, sí.
What-
Yes.
Sí, claro.
I'm having a hard time with that.
Sí. Vamos a ver. As a matter of fact, we will do is we're going to add another screen so you can see it. I do not want you to get in a habit of actually, spelling it out. But, initially, it is something that people often just kind of do have to do. And, to kind of wrap their minds around what is going on with that verb. So let's do that. Let's take a look at volver. And volver is used in a lot of, actually one idiomatic way too, but we're not going to look at that yet. Volver, to come back. And I want you to notice it does not mean to return like, oh, you loaned me a pen. I'm going to give this back to you. That kind of back is yeah, devolver. It's based on volver, but it is different word. Okay, so volver, to come back, to return. So it's not to return a thing, it is to come back to a place. Okay, it's that kind of return to a place. Okay, las formas. Vuelvo. Vuelvo. Vuelves. And I know you got, it's not really a it's a yeah. Vuelves. Vuelve. Vuelve. Let's take a look at the plural form here. Vuelven. Right? So we've got vuelvo, vuelves, vuelve, vuelven, vuelven. And then we're going to go to the one that does not get a stem change, and that is volvemos. Volvemos. Okay. Okay, sepan, just so you know what this verb is, although people in Latin America do not use it. But if you were in Spain, you would hear it, volvéis. But you don't have to practice that one unless you're going to Spain, volvéis, then you have to know it. But volvemos, volvemos, right? And our boot or shoe is right in through here. Volvemos is outside of that boot. It is, or the shoe. Okay, bien. Mejor? A little better? See? Okay.
I have a question.
Sí, dime.
If I say this, volvemos, which one is correct to use this? Volvemos a nos restaurante favorito, or volvemos a nuestro favorito restaurante?
Oh,
you use the nos or nuestro? Which one is
Well, okay. Nuestro restaurante favorito. Our favorite restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, so nuestro. So it's not nos.
No, it is not nos. It is not nos. It is nuestro. Nuestro, yeah. No, nos restaurante, you can't do. Nos is always paired up with a verb.
Oh.
Yeah, nos is paired up with a verb in some way. Nos will never be in front of a noun, a thing. Yeah, I can't say nos café, our coffee, nos celular, our cell phone. It's nuestro celular, nuestro café, nuestra clase, our class, yeah.
Okay.
Bien, ok,
Okay,
vale.
gracias.
De nada, de nada. Ok. A ver, bueno, wow, we're almost coming up to 11 o'clock. So here's what I'm going to tell you. And I overplanned, which I always do, which is fine. Here's what you're going to do as part of your homework. You're going to have like you know what? To get used to these, you just have to practice it a lot. So you will get to preview some more verbs with this same exact file, except you're going to see the questions you're going to use in breakout rooms next week ahead of time. Okay. So you're going to see 4 more verbs here. Recordar and acordarse, which both mean to remember. They are synonyms. Encontrar, which means to find. Nevar, which means to snow. And there's only one conjugation because we don't snow. And I don't snow, and neither do you. Almorzar, okay, to eat lunch. You're going to preview the kind of changes I want you to make when you get into breakout rooms. And you're going to get a last set of verbs. Llover, jugar, devolver. Oh, the devolver, to return a thing. And doler, to hurt. And that doler one is a little bit odd. Doler is either going to be duele or duelen. It will never get a yo form. It will never get a nosotros form. It will never get a tú form, because when you use doler, it means a part of your body hurts. And that part of your body is a double thing, a multiple thing, or a single thing. Right? A single thing. Yeah. A body part is either a onesie or a multiple. Yeah. And that's the way that verb gets used. Okay. So that one might be a little bit confusing, but here you go. And here are going to be the preview questions. So you're going to have 2 sets of verbs to practice. Yeah. And these are in the colored segments will be the corresponding breakout room things that you're going to use next week. So you have that. Okay.
Pregunta.
Sí.
I was looking at this ahead of time, and on the encontrar, to find, I noticed that in the purple page that it says to feel. I feel well, not to find.
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, gracias. Thank you. I'll change that. But I thought, okay. Me encuentro means I find myself. I'm going to change that example.
Okay.
To make it a little more obvious. Yeah. Me encuentro. So in everyday conversation, people make this reflexive, meaning they add a little pronoun me. And so if somebody asks you, ¿cómo te encuentras? How do you find yourself?
Okay.
I mean, they're really asking, how do you feel?
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh, I find I'm feeling kind of lousy today. I feel great. Me encuentro bien. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to change that example because actually it is more conversational, but it is less obvious. So I'm going to change that little example. Gracias, Mariana. Thank you for previewing that, because otherwise, yeah, somebody might have gotten confused. Okay. The second little thing you're going to get to practice will be a website, and it's going to be a super, super simple thing. It'll look like this, and you'll just do a flippy flop where, you'll get a drop down menu, and you're just going to pick the verb form, right? You're just going to pick the verb form. You see how that works, right? You get a drop down menu and you're going to pick one verb. So and it's going to they're just all E to IE ones. So it's very specific and very focused. So you're going to have those 2 things to look at. You're also going to have to watch you're going to have to watch all of a video, but I'm going to preview what the video is. You're going to watch a video on ya. So we're going to talk a little bit about ya, because there are, I would say, 3
probably 3 factors with that word ya. And I'm going to put on the share screen, very often, folks, sadly, very often, the smallest words in Spanish are the most confusing. Yeah. All these little words, they're the ones that wind up. All the little ones are the buggers. They get you in the behind every time. But we're going to focus on this little word ya. Ya, what the heck does it mean? I got my English thing. Doggone it, bumped me out of my keyboard here. Wow. Okay. Ya means a bunch of things, but what ya means, it depends on the verb tense. What ya means depends on the tone of voice you use. Oh my God. Yeah. Are we, does it hurt yet? It kind of also depends on, what's the third thing? What else does it depend on? Yeah, maybe just those 2. The verb tense, the tone of, and whether you use it with a, it might show up as ya no, and ya no is going to change yet again. Okay. You're going to get a very nice video where in English, he will explain it more to you. I'm going to send a second video, but I will say the second video, watch it only really with keeping in mind that he's going to start using different tenses, but he emphasizes something. And the thing he emphasizes in the second video, which is a little harder to understand, but he's still pretty good about it. Like your attitude with when you say yeah, or like how many times you say it. People may say it as yeah, or yeah. It matters. It changes the meaning. Ja can mean now. Ja can mean now. Ja can mean already. Ja can mean really soon. Ya no can mean not anymore or no longer. Ya no. Yeah. Ja can mean I am done with you. Just stop it. So the tone of voice matters. Yeah. Yeah. It is not the same as yeah. Or ja can just mean like positively. Yeah can be very negative. Yeah. A mom yelling at a kid, ya no, means stop it already. Okay. But somebody might say, yeah. Meaning they're saying, okay, sure. Yeah. Right? They might say, yeah. Oh, there, honey. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Right? It might mean like super be careful, like stop it right now, or we're going to have a big crash. Yeah. No, stop. Don't do that. Yeah. Something bad going to happen. So the tone of voice, how often you say it, all those things come into play, but he's going to have a lot of information on how we use yeah, and the attitude you say yeah with, it matters. Okay. And the only way to really explain that is with examples, and whether you talk about it in past versus soon, it matters. So you'll have some nice videos to watch on that. Sí, entienden. Perfecto. Great. Bien. I think I'm also going to send along for you a very simple little video, a little storytelling using encontrar. So you can hear a little silly story in context, and you'll hear how it's used in telling this, the story about this girl who's like looking for love in all the wrong places. Okay. Yeah. Bien. Okay. Vale. Perfecto. Okay. Está bien.
Okay.
Well, good.
Yeah.
And if you have questions midweek, shoot me a quick email,
Okay.
All right.
Gracias.
¿Está bien? Sí. Ok.
Está bien.
Cuídense
Okay.
mucho. Take care. Cuídense mucho.